What about Peter's last name?
That's an easy one.
There's somewhere Peter's last name.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, there was a couple that were, yeah. I'll never forget, we had a teacher, big black dude, like he would mess you up if you just looked at him the wrong way. But he was our football announcer, but he also did our graduations. But he had a saliva problem, and he was really good at pronouncing things, but man, and he would sit on a bar stool in front of the class, and nobody wanted to sit in the front row. He made fun of Mormons one time, and I got up and walked out. Principal made him apologize.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Southland City Council for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. Entertain a motion that we begin.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Please join us in a moment of silence, after which Councilmember Stevens will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Moment of silence, please. Thank you.
All rise.
Thank you. I will reiterate that that is the best pledge that's said. The students say it too fast, and WACOG, they say it different cadence, and it's the best I get to do it is right in this meeting here, so thank you for that. It's time for public comment. Invite anybody to come and address the mayor and council and staff. Give you 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind. Just come up to the podium, tell us what's your name and what you're thinking. Are we online at all today? So no public comment online? Thank you. Okay, yeah, come on up, sir. Okay, just give us your name and what's on your mind.
Yes, so my name is Moises, and I live on 135 Country Club Drive, right next to the golf course. My siding is completely destroyed. I have solar panels that are completely broken, and I'm just trying to find a way how to put a net up to protect my assets. It sounds like I've been dealing with some of your staff, and the code or things don't allow me to go so high to protect my panels above my house. So I'm thinking of adding more panels and do a battery, but then each panel is like $1,500 to replace. I have 8 of them broken. So my whole siding is completely destroyed. I have windows broken. No, I have gone to the golf course and asked somebody to come up front and take care of the damage. Nobody comes up. So I'm just trying to find a solution, or at least, some help so I can put a net up.
Okay. 135 Country Club
135
Drive, is that
Country Club
correct?
Drive, yes.
Okay. All right, we'll talk to our inspector and look at our code and see what we can do to
Thank you so much.
help that.
Thank you.
And maybe just pay for golf lessons for people so they
I know,
can
right,
look
exactly.
at it straight.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yes, I don't know, the hole is like 100 yards away from the house, so people are, yeah, whoever's hitting it is probably not a good golfer, so. All right,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
No,
That's
okay.
frustrating.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, item 4, our consent agenda. One item, approval of the May 6th, 2025 council minutes. Any changes, corrections to the minutes before they're approved? Okay, entertain a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Time to move into a public hearing to receive and consider comments on amendments to the fiscal year 2025 budget. Entertain a motion that we open that public hearing for comments on the amendments to the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're now in a public hearing for comments on the fiscal year budget. Peter, would you like to talk first, and then if people have comments after? Probably should have Peter talk first, then open it, but it's all right.
So what you have before you is a collection of consensus information from each of the department directors in us advising them to review their budgets, look for any shortfalls. In some cases, we may have started them in the year, to begin the year with some unrealistic expectations, but the key here is we're trying to project out through the end of the year what they will spend in each budget category. And in most cases, we could really have taken some of their savings from other categories, a few thousand here and there, to add up to these more major adjustments. But for simplicity's sake, and really just historical precedent, it makes sense to adjust these by category to align with the projection to finish the year. If you have any specific questions about any certain line items, I have some historical totals in front of me as well, if you're curious about where some of these different line items have trended in years past. But what you have before you is the current budget, the new budget, and the adjusted amount. And the total adjustments amount to approximately $650,000 that were not specifically earmarked for, like, one of the major ones on here is the Birch Creek Field, and we're increasing that budget to account for $213,000 in grants, for instance. So obviously that's a positive impact to the budget, but we have to put that in the expense line so that we can expend that offsetting revenue in that case. So I'm comfortable with what the department heads have given me here, and in some cases you'll see what the historical number was on like fire, for instance, for ambulance overtime. It was $30,000 the year prior. So we're really, in some cases, just trying to get it up closer to that historical amount. And I have faith that they're trying to keep those amounts down to the best of their ability as far as staffing goes and whatnot. So with that, I'm happy to open it up to any questions.
Well, let's get to that when we get to discussion A. Anybody else would like to talk to council in the public hearing? Okay, entertain a motion that we close our public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, our first discussion action item is consideration of Resolution 25-10, amending the fiscal year 2025 budget. Any questions for Mr. Angeward? Councilmember Stewart.
So I noticed that there's an expense, a line item for a parked vehicle that was hit under the police department. How is it, do we not have insurance that covers that?
So as you can see, like the increase is pretty nominal of $9,700 for the total category. So we were just including our deductible in that amount, but specifically, we wanted to make it clear that, yeah, usually it's not your fault when you get hit in a parked vehicle, but yeah, our insurance will just pay that, we would just pay the deductible for that
Okay.
car. Good question.
Good question. Okay. I entertain a motion then that we approve Resolution 25-10, amending the fiscal year 2025 budget.
So
I
moved.
just have one thing on there. I think at the end of it, it says Ogden, South Ogden doesn't have city on there. It's just a minor thing at the bottom. On page 2. In the packet, I'll show it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. A motion and second. Any further discussion? Did you get the second on that, please? Who seconded that? Was there one?
I thought Jeanette did, but I will if, I'll second.
Okay, fantastic. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter, for your work on that. Item B, consideration of Resolution 25-11, approving agreement with Great Western Landscape for Birch Creek Field renovation. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Before you tonight, you have the Birch Creek Field renovation sprinkler landscape project. When we originally developed Birch Creek Park, city looked at incorporating that as sports turf fields going to actual turf grass. Didn't fit the budget, so at that point in time, we just did some landscaping around it, did a trail system around it. With that being said, the inside is still available for use with fields, whether it be soccer, lacrosse, flag football, anything of that sort inside there. It still has the original dirt, an unleveled field that me and the mayor, Mike, everybody played football on quite a few years ago. So we're going to go through and update that system. When the school, when they dropped the junior high, they had the intentions, the school, I believe, was going to sell it to somewhat of a development, so they just kind of pieced the sprinkler system together, so it doesn't work real well. We're going to go in and clean that up. We maintain that. We have an agreement with them right now that we maintain that and utilize that. But it is very rough. The sprinkler system just doesn't cut it. And this, we applied for, AYSO approached us, gave us a little bit of money. We applied for ramp, and they gave us money. As you can see in the cost, Great Western, we had 4 plan holders. We had a mandatory meeting that they came to the site so they could see exactly what they were getting into. Out of those 4, only 3 submitted bids. I think one thought, they got there and thought it was a little bit more than they wanted to do, a little above their head. All 3 of them that have given us bids have done work with the city and done a great job. As you see there, Great Western come in at $375,374. Now that is just strictly for grass seed. If you want to go with sod, which the option is in there, we did that as alternate 3. You adds another, you would subtract out, I think the grass seed was $36,000 roughly to have grass seed. The sod was $111,000, so you're going to add roughly $70,000 to do sod. The difference between the two, it depends on how long you want to hold off to get kids to play in it. Grass seed, I can tell you goods and bads to both. Grass seed is awesome. You end up with a better mix of grass because you can specify the seed and the Kentucky blue, whatever kind of one in the turf you want in there. Sod, you get what they give you. Usually it's a Kentucky blue mix. It's great, but the playing surface will be ready a lot quicker. You seed, you're probably 2 to 3 years before it's going to be decent, and that's if you can keep the people off of it, which I believe we're going to have a hard time keeping people off that to get it sustainable and growing. But those are your 2 options there. I don't know if you have any questions for me. And we're coordinating directly with the school district. There's a new pump in there. It's all and it's all sticking inside the trail system is what we're doing. So they're going to skin everything off, topsoil, new heads, new valves, new clock, everything minus That there's a pump, but we're upgrading some of the pump. But
Everything inside the trails, outside the trail will stay as it is.
outside the trail will stay. Yeah, everything outside the trail is pretty much sufficient, but this, you're gonna get some overlapping, which is gonna enhance that also. So, and the trail, the inside is probably, it's the worst part right now. So, the hope is to get them in there as soon as possible. As soon as, if this passes this evening, we'll get with them. We gotta get their bond, but they're hoping to, I've talked with Great Western, they wanna be in there June 1st, get in and out, and before school starts the 1st of August, even though it is a 90-day contract, they want to be in and out. Great Western built Birch Creek Park for us. They were the landscaper for Hogan, so they're very familiar with the area and kind of everything that's going on there. So, do you have any questions?
So their bid is 450,000 then?
Yeah, well, to do sod, yes, so their bid's $375 with grass seed. And you take out the grass seed and add the sod, it puts you to $458.14.
Okay. And what about the sprinklers? I think, and whether you use grass or sod, the sprinklers have to be in
The
functioning.
sprinklers, yeah, are not, they're gonna
Yeah.
stay the same. The only thing that you're gonna add is 70,000 two-lay sod. The sod will, like I say, it'll establish, you'll probably be playing next spring, with it, potentially maybe even fall, October with sod. With grass seed, you're probably looking next fall, in 2026, there to get an established grass in there that's good enough. Because you're gonna have, what'll happen when you seed is, you have two different mixes. You have the fescue and then your Kentucky blue comes in. The fescue grows, Kentucky blue comes in, takes over, but all the weeds take over your spray, and the Kentucky blue's thinner, grows in clumps. It will spread and grow and come in great, but it's just a matter of the use. I could tell you when you seed, you come out with a phenomenal product, but that's if you can keep people off of it. So your two options, do you want to spend 70,000 in sod, or do you want to stay where we're at the 375? And if you look, I believe on the report, back in there, I did tell you, the city will be responsible 162 to 237 is what we're going to be responsible for. So if we go seed, the city is going to be on the hook for 162, 374. If we go with sod, the city will have to pay $237, $841.
Councilmember Stewart?
So the seed mix has already been specified?
It was specified in there, yes. Yeah, it was specific with them when we set out the bid, so they know what they're getting. And we'll clean that up, when they come in. There's a card, we make sure they've got everything. When they do the seed, you can see the seed mix there. Where sod, you tell them it's a Kentucky blue, and they'll show you, but you pretty much get what you get. This could be a Kentucky blue mix, probably usually a 3, maybe a 4 blend if you're lucky.
So John, with the bids that are a little lower, they weren't going to offer us the same?
Well, the one, they were all more money. So LSI and Mountain, those are both
that-
right there. They're both
those-
just with grass seed.
Oh, with
That
the
don't even
seed,
count,
okay.
yeah. So if I was to add their sod in there, they were all around $100,000 for
Okay.
sod.
Okay,
The LSI, you would have paid 487, and Mountain, you would have paid about 530,
Okay.
525, somewhere in there.
I just think it's so hard, that location, to keep dogs and people and students off that thing.
And it's a school area too, I mean, we can fence and do what we can, but you will struggle a little bit to get it going.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember.
John, what's the lifetime of this project? Like, how long are those sprinklers going to last? How long are the heads going to last? What's your typical maintenance year to year on that? And when would we have to do this again?
I would hope neither of our lifetimes, to be honest with you. I'll bet you're gonna get a good 20 years out of it. I mean, you look, we're still using some of they're using the original lines. They've just replaced heads from an impact to a rotor because impacts just aren't as efficient anymore. So you're still on some of the original system.
What's our ability to upkeep that? Anthony and his team, what are they?
They're doing it now. It's gonna enhance with the sprinkler system, because we're trying to go in there now. You fertilize it and it burns on one side because the sprinkler ain't there. It actually is gonna improve the efficiency from our maintenance crew, to be honest with you, in the long run. They're doing it now. The difference is they're gonna have a better quality to take care of than what they're taking care of.
based on the location and the fact that we're not gonna be able to keep kids off of it, how many times are we gonna have to reseed it if we seed?
Yeah, and when you seed, you typically come back 4 to 6 weeks later, overseed. You know, once you mow it once and then you come back and overseed it one more time. You're gonna overseed it probably on an annual basis for 3. Glassman is the biggest one I've seeded since I've been here, and it took us about 4.5 to 5 years to get it. And it's a beautiful park, but it took 4 to 5 years to get it, you know, where we wanted it, mowing it, weed-free.
At a cost of,
Yeah,
Expensive.
right, I think you go with sod.
You know, I mean, you look at the cost over the years, I think you'll,
that's why I asked.
yeah, you know, the sod, and you're gonna improve, or not, you're gonna get use of it a lot quicker, good use out of it very quick in there.
I think the sod would enhance our area there, plus it is a functional capacity where we're spending additional dollars to reseed it in the aspects there. I'm encouraged by the $20,000 donation that you received from there, and
Yeah,
I wish we could get some money from the school district. Is that possible?
Not for that.
not that I know of.
Let's leave that dog.
Because they'll have use of it also, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
would be nice if they
We're set
would.
up the same way. They really don't utilize the actual surface itself much during the school year because they're younger kids, but that trail system gets used a ton, and it's the same agreement we have. We can use it whenever we want. The school after hours kind of has to get a hold of us. You know,
Yeah.
our soccer programs are growing, which is great. Be a nice place to put some soccer programs. You know, if we lacrosse, flag football, our flag football field now is down at Club Heights. It picks up second base and some of the dirt, so the kids playing flag football get a little bit of the baseball experience when they shouldn't be, where we can put it over here. So there's a lot of benefits to having this done for the city quicker.
Still be nice to get some money from the school
So
district.
that-
Always be nice. Okay. All right. Entertained motion that we approve Resolution 25-11, agreement with Great Western Landscape for Birch Creek Field renovation, including the sod.
I move that we approve ordinance 25-11.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
You didn't say with the sod, and even though.
Apologies.
Okay,
I move that we approve 25-11 with the sod through Great Western.
Thank you. And the second still good, Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
All right. Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank
John.
you.
All right, item C, consideration of resolution 25-12, approving agreement with Weber County for use of ramp grant funds. Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. The city was applied for and was successful in getting a ramp grant. Compliments to Danielle, our communications and events coordinator. Ramp has awarded the city $25,000 to go towards our South Ogden Days entertainment. And this is Ramp's standard agreement between the city and the county in relation to, you know, we're accepting these funds and we will spend them as we promised in our application to get the grant. And Danielle is happy to spend those dollars to help make South Ogden Days amazing. So staff would recommend approval of this resolution.
Any questions? Okay, we'll take the money. Entertain a motion, hopefully. Entertain a motion to approve resolution 25-12.
So moved.
second,
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Smythe?
yes,
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Howe?
Yes.
Awesome. Item D, consideration of noise ordinance exemption for Harrison Boulevard road work. Mr. Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just looking for my notes on this. So UDOT Region 1 is preparing to do a mill and overlay project of Harrison Boulevard from Highway 89 to, I believe, 12th Street. And
Thank you.
because of the busyness of Harrison Boulevard for daytime use, they're proposing that all of this work happen between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Thanks, Lisa. As a result, they would be working during times where our city ordinance for noise would come into play. And so they've applied, they are petitioning you for an exception to the city's noise ordinance so that their work could be done. As stated in their request, they will be looking at mitigating the noise as best they can, from truck traffic to everything else. The good news for us is that we have a very short piece of this overall picture, project, I should say, from, Highway 89 to where you come up the hill just north of 5100 South on Harrison, and then they'll be in Ogden City. And we don't have a lot of residential uses really close. We have some, for sure, that will be impacted. But unlike Ogden on Harrison, the rest of the way, that'll be a big challenge. So anyway, that's what's requested of you, and I just ask Lisa if you have anything to add.
So the handout I gave you was what they provided to us. That's what they're going to send to all properties in the city within 300 feet of Harrison Boulevard. And it gives them opportunities to sign up for updates, to receive updates. And I checked the website. It says it's going to be up today, but when I checked it during the work session, it wasn't up yet, but it should be soon.
Okay. Anybody else?
Did they give a time frame on that?
Wasn't a closing time. I just
They
saw
hope to
opening.
start May 27th.
But did they say how long it was going to take?
No.
Till September 30th, I think, is their ending date, according to Councilmember.
With traffic control, is our police department going to be involved with that at all?
Not typically, no. Just be the contractor's responsibility to have the flaggers and the cones and
Okay.
direct traffic. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then, there's not an ordinance there. We just got a nod.
So the permit is in there. You can choose to approve it either by a voice vote or each person. It's just however you want to approve it.
Okay. Please.
I just noticed it says today's date, and it's August of last year, but then it says date received, it was just barely received. So did they fill it out preemptively? Do you know what I'm asking?
I don't know when they filled it out. All I know is that I received it on May 15th.
I'm guessing it's a
Okay.
typo that,
Or the same.
Well,
same
it just
form they
says
sent out
today's
before.
date, 8/14/2024. So,
yeah, good catch.
Okay, all in favor of giving a noise ordinance exemption for Harrison Boulevard roadwork, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Thank you.
I have one suggestion. I hope the contractor is aware of the businesses up in that area, and hope that we could mitigate the confusion a little bit so that they can still
I think it's another reason.
have their businesses in that area. So,
Been good in the past about leaving access open. If we hear, though, that they're not, we'll contact UDOT. Okay, thank you. All right, we have a discussion item tonight, moderate income housing. Alika, please.
Right, I'm back for some modern income housing fun. So yeah, for tonight, this discussion is mainly going to revolve around the research paper that was submitted, I would say a year or so ago. I know it was before my time, this research paper. Okay, so it's been a minute. And it's staff's understanding that council hasn't really reviewed it, at least not in depth. Maybe you've seen it before, but haven't really gone over what the contents of the paper is. So, again, to my understanding, and Matt, you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. This paper's to assist us in the implementation of Strategy K of our Modern Income Housing Implementation Report. So it goes over our local government actions. So it looked at examples in different states or in different cities within Utah to see how they're handling landlord incentive programs, deed restricted programs, and housing loss mitigation funds. So the goal today is to briefly go over the contents of the research paper. So that was included in your packet, so I'm assuming you all had time to go through it, review it, and are ready to discuss. So yeah, at the end, basically the goal is to have, figure out a way forward. What specifically do we want to start researching or start implementing? So to start off, let's see. I guess just getting to the meat and bones of the research paper, it starts off with landlord incentive programs. And they're just basically a way to encourage property owners and landlords to offer properties at affordable rates. The author of the paper gave two examples. One is in Marin County, California, and that had to do with vouchers that the state gave out to low-income families. And so the Marin Housing Authority partnered with landlords to identify barriers. And they identified 3 different barriers. So it was security deposits, burdens during tenant vacancy, and damaged units from the voucher holders. And so in response, the county offered to help with security deposits, damage protections, and vacancy loss coverage. And they offered a service hotline and workshops. And that resulted in almost double the percentage. I think at the beginning they had 30% of the landlords that were participating, and at the end they had 59%. And then before getting to that second example, the research paper goes into talking about low and no cost incentives. So just to name a handful, you can provide access to free one-on-one technical help, provide fast-track approval of permits, free advertising on a city website, negotiate discounts for good landlords on goods and services at local merchants, or maybe a free or low-cost equipment like smoke or carbon monoxide detectors, just things like that. And then the second example that was given, and this is a typo, it says Glenwood, California. It's actually in Colorado. And so they did an incentive ordinance. I did dig into it a little bit more, and it's more than just a section, but kind of going off of the research paper, they have any residential or mixed-use development that would create one or more dwelling units would be eligible for the incentives in their ordinance if it was deed restricted. So they would be eligible for a density bonus or flexibility with the site design. Or the city can step in and try to purchase those units. They can have that partnership there, or reduce fees and things like that. And that leads to the next item of the research paper, which is deed restriction programs. So these programs place a legal restriction or covenants on a property's deed, which ensures that the housing unit remains affordable for a specified period of time, even if the property changes ownership. And the example that was given was for Park City. They wanted to keep their middle working class within the city and not be priced out. So they put together an ordinance where the owners had to live on the property full time. They were allowed to have, I think, a max of 5% appreciation added to the resale value. And the city holds the first option to purchase when the owner chooses to sell. And if they don't want to purchase it, it has to be sold to a qualified household. And really, the city's housing office is the one overseeing all of this. The second example that was given is in Colorado, in Glendale Springs. And so it requires new residential development to provide 20% of the housing be produced, to be restricted, for it to be owner occupied. And at least 10% be affordable to households that are earning up to 100% of the AMI, or the area medium income. And then the last part is housing loss mitigation funds. And basically, that's a way to help homeowners remain in their home when they're facing a difficult time, and to help them avoid foreclosure. The biggest challenge with that is obtaining sufficient funding to meet the needs of the interested parties. The example that was given is more at a state level rather than city level, and that is Proposition 123 that was passed in Colorado. They retain money from the existing state tax revenue to support affordable housing. So 40% of the funds go to affordable housing support fund, and 60% goes to affordable housing financing fund. Nonprofits, community land trusts, private entities, local governments are all eligible for loans or grants from those funds. Local governments have to commit to increasing their existing affordable housing up to 3% per year. Then other examples in that section talk about Moab, Utah, with Grant County and how they were able to allocate $150,000 to affordable housing. Park City Community Foundation working with Mountain Land, Community Housing Trust working with philanthropists to support affordable housing. I went into their website and they raised over $1 million to help with affordable housing. Salt Lake City generated new revenue in the city's housing stability budget, and they put together growing Salt Lake City plan, which goes further than what's in the research paper. They actually have, I think, 3 goals, and within those goals have different strategies to implement them. And part of it is low interest loans to affordable housing developers. They also have a website where they offer assistance, looking over contracts between the tenant and the landlord, and mediation services. And then lastly, the community benefits agreement isn't necessarily part of, at least not in the research paper, for local government action, but they do, or the author of the research paper does explain what it is. So it's similar to a master development agreement. It's a contract made between a developer and a community. So the example that was given, there was a couple. One of them was the Staples Center development in Los Angeles, which dedicated 20% of the housing in the development to affordable housing. And then in New York City, it was the Kingsbridge Armory. So they converted it into a hockey rink, and half the jobs created were for local workers. So overall, this research paper gave great insight and examples of solutions to help aid in modern income housing. But of course, there's always challenges and drawbacks. One of the biggest challenging, as mentioned before, is funding for grants. The research paper pointed out that the example cities had successful programs, but they had high tourism and higher budgets to work with. So that's how they were able to have those programs into place. The paper also talked about at a state level, right? Like what the Proposition 123. So yeah, we're part of that conversation, and we still have that ongoing discussion with other cities and with the state, but we're just a piece of it. We don't get to dictate that. But yeah, ultimately, we need to decide with the funds we do have, how we want to reallocate those. If we want to focus on new development coming in or preserving modern income housing or affordable housing that we have within the city already. And it's really having that open line of communication with our current residents and landlords and developers just to find a solution.
How much is it the Owen Walker housing, the money that we're talking about here? And how much is in there? When you say what money we have, what would you consider
It's
we
more from
have?
like our CRA funds. I'm not sure on the amount that we have. I don't know.
I would guess, but we can get a accurate number, around 200,000.
Yeah.
In looking at our city, I'm thinking it's already developed. We don't have developers coming in now. There's no more vacant lots. There's no more old
Sure.
buildings, very few of those. So I think our focus needs to be on trying to keep rents low and trying to help people stay in their own homes. So it'd be more of those other options, not the deed restriction, but more the landlord thing, and then some kind of fund to help out those that might be foreclosing on a house. Thoughts I had as I read through that. Councilmember Stewart?
So when you talk about helping people stay in their own home, are you talking about like an offset for property taxes, or what are your thoughts in that vein? When you talk about somebody looking at foreclosure,
Yeah, I was trying to find what
Do you
being
mean,
suggested. Yeah, that's
you know,
it's
if
hard
somebody
because
still
of
has a
how much we
mortgage?
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are we talking about helping people that still have a mortgage, or are we talking about people that?
I was thinking more property tax help for those that have paid their house off or
Uh-huh.
can't, but just because of our, I don't know how much funds we have, but wouldn't have enough for that, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
I envision what the mayor had mentioned is that most of our city is built out, and so our focus is probably in a different direction than some of these studies that we were looking at. I also recall, and I could be wrong, but I think the state provides vouchers for low-income housing or affordable housing. Is that something that we would be looking at also?
We can, yeah. And that would be similar to that one example in, I believe it was Marin County with those vouchers. And that's more working with our landlord and saying, okay, what is it, how can we incentivize you to take in those vouchers? Or to even deed restrict.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to start off with that, if we want to go down that route, it would be, we can start off with the survey. We can start off with an open house just to get into their mindset, like what is it that we can help step in so that it stays affordable. That was one of the suggestions at the bottom of the staff report. And kind of going back to a comment of, well, yeah, we're mostly built out. That is true, but redevelopment is still something that can occur here. And I mean, that's why we're looking at our city center. And we have our form-based code. So there is still some wiggle room
That's
there
true.
to where we can have master development agreements, right? I mean, we've had a couple in the past. And we can't require it, but we can negotiate with them, say, hey, you know, maybe this certain building that you're looking at only goes up to, we only allow 4 or 5 stories. We can look at adding one more if you're restricting a certain percentage instead of a certain number. So maybe 10%.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I mean, that may not happen as often, but
No,
we can still
could
be
negotiate
prepared.
that for sure. Councilmember Howard had an idea.
Something that I think would be awesome to have a discussion on is in Ogden, they have a grant called Ogden Own in Ogden, Ogden Own. And so their city employees can put in for a grant to help purchase a home inside their city that they work in.
They help pay the down payment?
Yep. 20,000, it's a $20,000 grant that they offer to employees in the city to live in the city.
Yeah.
Is it, do they have to repay it, or is there do you know anything about that?
I know that there is time restrictions on it, but it is not something that they would have to pay back. It is an actual grant.
When you say time restrictions, you mean like, say they left within 3 years, would they have to pay a portion back, or?
Yes, I believe so. I can send you the link to it,
Okay.
though. But yeah, most usually have like a time frame of 5 years that they need to be there. But
Yeah, and I could do further research on that too. I don't think Ogden's the only city that has something like that. I can put together, just comparing what cities within maybe this state and other states are doing to help.
Can I ask another question about that? Do you think it would be still effective if we did a lower amount, like 10,000?
Me?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
So-
any amount could help.
10,000 probably wouldn't even pay all the closing costs on a purchase of a home, depending on price.
But it would be 10,000 that a person didn't have to come up with
Correct.
on their own.
Correct. So, and I know that this particular grant offered by Ogden can be used in conjunction or combined with other programs that are out there, like first-time homeowner, stuff like that, that they can combine.
Mayor, if I
Please.
could
Yeah,
just
please.
add something. I like that we've talked about, and in the research paper, we kind of separating them between low cost, no cost, and then cost. And because I do think there's some things here that are worth considering. Really, you know, if you think about the number of development agreements we've dealt with, some of you more than others because of your time on the council, but looking back, I think had we had some things in place then and known what we know now, that we probably would have added some requirements to those development agreements. And in the same way we were negotiating, you know, hey, if it's a better product or whatever, we could also have been negotiating affordability and deed restrictions and some things. Again, not that there's no cost to those things, but it's different than offering financial support to a home buyer. And I'm not saying that's not something you want to consider, but I do think there's some no cost, low cost things that we could come up with and build into our code, really kind of stating what the incentive is up front versus
Right.
the way we've done it is waiting for them to come to the table and say, this is what we want to do, and now we're negotiating on, you know, potentially better development in some people's minds, right? But I think we could define some of those, if you as a council could come to some agreement to say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we're willing to make some considerations here for deed restricted affordability there. So I just think, in my mind, we can kind of separate, do you want to look at low cost, no cost kinds of things? And then what are the cost things, recognizing we have limited funds, and how could we use those funds to help support affordability? Because I like the fast tracking. One, we're already a pretty fast track.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of cost to us as a city to say, hey, look, for affordability, we will fast track your application. Guess what? Every application that comes here is pretty fast.
It's now on public record.
But it's at least something that we could put in play in the event that we have some competing projects to say, no, you get the fast track, you get first priority, right? Easy, low-hanging fruit for us, given our size and the organization. So I like the fast track idea, and I do like the, as I mentioned, bonuses of some sort or incentives for deed-restricted units. That
Yeah.
I don't think will cost a lot.
We can also be flexible with some of the requirements, right? Like maybe some landscaping requirements, maybe even parking requirements. It would just depend. I was looking at just the reports that were submitted for moderate income housing. It's for Salt Lake City and for Summit County. And I even looked at Moab, even though they're not required to submit for moderate income housing. They are prepared. And one of the things I saw was, more so for Salt Lake City, was they had 3 different incentives. And so they have a lot of different zones. And so if it was more like a detached single-family zone, they would allow maybe a second house or a little bit of a jump in density if they deed restricted. And then they had a certain section where it was more of like the high dense, like apartments. In their form-based code, they would say, okay, if you're adding an extra floor, you need to give us X% of deed restricted units. If you're going to do this other, or we're going to waive this requirement, you're going to give us this percentage. So it's all up front. But they still had to go through and have a master development agreement. So we can do something similar to that. I think in the staff report, I wrote something about exploring the option of being flexible with lot side requirements and lot width and setback requirements. And the possibility of creating cottage lots. And that kind of came from Ogden. They're not necessarily using that as a tool for modern income housing, but it is something that they do allow in certain zones.
Don't think our accessory dwelling
That too.
unit will take care, or ordinance will take care of that, I thought that.
Yeah, and I guess part of that could be, they're only allowed, detached are only allowed on 10,000 square foot lots. So if there's like an 8,000 square foot lot that wanted to build one, we can say, okay, but it would have to be deed restricted. So little things like that, that's a little bit of a flexibility. And that would tie into another one of our strategies. But we don't have to explore that at all. That was just a suggestion. And with that, that would take, obviously, conversations with Planning Commission. And I would suggest having an open house for residents to come in and tell us, hey, is this something you even want?
Yeah. And landlords too, I think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Please.
I think I like Alika's point. One of the things that I really struggle with is the ability. I don't want as a city to restrict capitalism as much because I think homeowners should be able to do kind of what they want. I think developers, if they have the capital to come in and buy a project, they should be able to capitalize on that and make money on it. There's 2 things. Actually, I have one suggestion in this whole thing. Alika, I would love to maybe put it in a work session where we take 2 or 3 ideas from this and prioritize them. Like, I think that we could discuss that and be like, okay, do we want to do a home loan assistance type of program? Matt, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we restrict on the DA to Hilltop, not Hilltop, to Country Hills?
The one yet to be developed?
On Harrison.
The only
One
one
on
that
Harrison.
there is.
Was the one on Harrison the one we did?
The one on
that was-
Harrison that
That's yet
is.
to be built.
I still think it's moving forward.
Right.
We just haven't started to go vertical, but
So,
yeah.
but I think to that point, we can
they have to get
still do
site
that
plan
in these
approval.
development agreements. We can still capitalize on that with these developers. Where I don't want to handcuff them too much is we still want them to develop in South Ogden. But things like, to Alika's point on lot size restrictions, setback restrictions, these accessory dwelling units kind of compensate for that. But if they needed to go through additional permitting or variance requests or something like that, then we could get into the deed restriction portions of that where we could say, hey, we'll let you do this, but then.
Right.
So I think, again, there's things we can do as a city that won't cost us money. We also have the property up 40th that we talked about building a affordable housing project on and kind of put that on the back burner.
Oh, that's coming up, don't you worry.
We could sell that property and use those funds for this kind of program, and whether it's $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000, whatever, we could work that. But I think we need to set some priorities because this was a lot of information.
Right.
It was a good report. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I think a lot of it's irrelevant to South Ogden because you're comparing it to places like Park City, Glenwood, Colorado, and California. They don't apply to us like that. It's
was
got to
my
be
thought,
different.
too.
But there are some good ideas in there that we could take back and say, okay, what if we prioritized even if it was just 3 things. And then we get through our moderate income housing qualifications and fill those out. So,
And as part of that discussion, how much money do we have? I think it'd be helpful to have the down payment assistance, to have the property tax assistance, so, and what the Olin Walker, how much is in that, and what can that be used toward? That would help with that discussion as well. But yeah, I think that's a great comment by Councilmember Howe.
Another, I guess, suggestion, and this was more from Summit County, was they partnered with Utah Housing Preservation Fund. So that goes back to deed restriction though, right? They come in, they buy different units, different properties, they fix them up, and they deed restrict them. So they ended up giving a grant of $500,000 to the Utah Housing Preservation Fund for them to go in and start buying and deed restricting these units. That's something that I can look into if we're interested in going down that road. If not, then we don't have to.
Councilmember Stevens?
Thank you, Mayor. I think our discussion's been very productive. In fact, I like the idea of us starting to develop a program so that when things come along, we already have that in place. And I would suggest that maybe Ally make a presentation toward the Planning Commission and see what they could work out for us, and then bring it to a work session. I think that's very productive. An open house, I think that's very progressive in that aspect there, to look at, invite these developers in or contractors in and say, this is what we have, and this is our presentation. But this is the time to start developing that, because in the future, we're going to have developments come along, and we have to adhere to that. In response to Councilman Howard, I'm familiar with that program in Ogden. The program owned in Ogden is that they would sell the unit and take the profit from that and put back into their program. So it's a revolving program, but they would give first responders, teachers, and city employees priority in developing or buying a home in South Ogden. So, and that could be part of it, but we need to start developing this type of a program in that aspect there. So,
Yeah, no, this has been very helpful. I can put together some information and then have this in a future work session.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate all you do. Well done. All right, item 8, open and public meeting training. Is that Lisa?
So, were there any questions from anyone that came up as you were viewing your training? Okay.
We've seen it before.
Just a reminder that when there's 2 of you, it's fine. When there's 3 of you talking, it's not fine. Be careful when you're in a meeting and texting, because you should not be having conversations via text with any other member of the council during a meeting. So just those few reminders, and thank you for getting me your signed affirmations.
Okay, thank you. My text from Danielle reminded me of what to say in my report. So. Very helpful. Thank you. Direct reports to city manager. We'll start with Councilmember Smythe.
I have nothing to report this time.
Councilmember Stewart.
I also have nothing today, thank you.
Councilmember Stevens.
thank you, Mayor. I had a few comments on the traffic lights that are on 850 East and 1050 East. They wondered why a yellow arrow was not put on those, and because it seems like the traffic in the turning lane starts to stack up there. So that was the comment that I had. I also would like to remind, even though we've had rain the last couple of days, but Governor Cox has declared 17 counties in Utah as being drought tolerant, deficient. And so we live in the desert, so it's well that we administer the drought policies in watering our lawns and so forth here in this area. I'm also was uplifted when Councilman Howard, in his comments, when he mentioned that we need to serve, we need to improve, and we need to love one another, treat individuals kindly. And he said in his comments is that would go a long way in developing that. And I appreciate his comments along those lines there. And one last comment. Last Monday, along with Councilman Howell, we went to the community event, and that was a great event. We had a lot of people participate in that, and it was a great event for us to do that, and I thank the opportunity of doing that. And also in the Ogden area, they're starting to talk about the Olympics, and we need to make sure that we're part of that group so that the residents of South Ogden can enjoy the Olympic Games when they come. And so they're starting to formulate those communities that are interested in being part of the Olympic Games, and I hope that we're part of that group.
Thank you. Councilmember Howe.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Councilmember Stevens mentioned businesses, and I appreciate the support. The event he was talking about that we went to was our Subaru ribbon cutting, which is going to be great for our community. I also received a thank you card for attending the Seas Candy ribbon cutting, and it's just really good to see businesses flourishing in South Ogden. We're going to have some more ribbon cuttings for the business I work for here shortly, and those will also be in South Ogden. It's going to be great to see that. And speaking of businesses, we were able to, Doug and I also attended the Bonneville's Community That Cares reading celebration program up at the elementary school by Friendship Park there. And the mayor was a little bit late, but he was also doing a video for another local business. So I appreciate those. They're fun to watch, and Mayor Porter thinks he's funny in the videos, and most of the time he is. He does pretty good.
I really appeal to the female over 70 crowd. That's who that's who compliments me on my
And
paper.
that's our South Ogden citizenship, so we're good there. But no, I again, just support South Ogden businesses. Like Doug said, love your community and be proud to be here, because it's a great place to be. So I'm grateful for all those opportunities and many, many others.
Thank you. Councilor Howard.
Appeal to the females over 70. Michelle
Well,
is not going to be.
oh, that's
happy with
true.
That.
And some others.
No, the only thing I was going to bring
She
up, I
thinks it's
have
funny.
several residents have mentioned the new lights that have gone out, and I know it's not us, but that red arrow. I'm sure you guys have got plenty of calls. We get a few. That it's just
I'll address that a little bit.
they're bad. So that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Dixon.
Thank you. Councilmember Howard, are you talking about the same thing that Councilmember Stevens? Okay, 850 and 1050? I've got to know.
Actually three.
I think I'll employ the political power of Mayor Porter, and we could reach out to Region 1 and just see. I mean, I know Mayor Porter was involved in getting the 4400 South one changed, and I think we just try to approach them about that and see if we can't make some changes there. Because it's really not our decision ultimately, but I think with some encouragement, UDOT's been pretty good to work with us in the past. So, yeah, as far as things to report, I do appreciate those of you who were able to come to the Young Automotive Group ribbon cutting. A very positive thing. It's a lot of people showed up, so I think that showed good community support. We had a lot of our city employees and some fire and police there. I think it was a good show of support from us to the Young Automotive Group. So thanks to everyone who was able to attend. Had a great kickoff South Ogden Days meeting today. Danielle is on the ball, no surprise to any of you, but just very well organized, and the departments went through everything, and looking forward to June 20th, Friday night at Birch Creek Park, and then the parade on Saturday and the evening festivities at the park. It's going to be a great event. Just so you're aware, Tuesday, May 27th, we're going to be starting the 40th Street Waterline project. So that'll be the coming up the hill from Riverdale Road to Washington. So there will be some challenges with that, as there was last year. We hope that it may pass water inspection sooner than it took the other one. But anyway, we'll be having some signage out and notifying people of those changes. And I do believe, John, the plan will be like it was for Chimes View, and that will be to just shut the road down completely. Obviously, local traffic will be able to get to and from their homes and businesses, but it'll just help the contractor get the work done sooner than later. I think that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just glad school's out for that. Yeah, lots of talk on the UDOT red arrows. I was with Mr. Dixon twice yesterday, and every time I left, I'm like, I was one more thing I was supposed to ask him, and that was for the phone number for our UDOT guy. So help me remember that. We'll call them tomorrow.
I got it down.
So some past events. So Danielle and I went at Walmart Market today. Anthony, store manager at Walmart Market, gave us a giant check today. We didn't take it to the bank, try to cash it. That's on my bucket list too. But for $1,000 donation to our Shakespeare in the Park. We're going to have 4 of those this summer, so we're excited about that. Walmart Market's been a great partner, and so we did a little video and pictures with that giant check today. Some South Ogden Days reminders. We have the Live Your Dash 5K. That's the first event. That's on June 7th. That's the D. Smith Memorial Run. And there's also pickleball tournament registration, which will take place that Friday night, the 20th. So go to southoddendays.com for those and send people to those areas if they have questions or want to sign up for things. And June 2nd through 6th, so our next meeting is June 3rd. So the 2nd through 6th is anybody that wants to file the run for mayor or council. And so you need to visit Lisa, city recorder, pay your $25 filing fee, and get your name on the ballot for that. 25. I thought I said that. 25. Inflation. Going to be first alphabetically. It costs you. No, just kidding. A little bit more, but yeah. Thanks for those that participate in the different events with Subaru and with Bomb Communities That Care and the other things that we have going on, and just excited for a fun June. So that is also all I have. Thanks everybody for your efforts tonight in both meetings and for your help. Entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
We even have fireworks. Can you see them at your
Friday. Same.
8 p.m.? The fireworks? As a runner around.
Yeah, in fact, my daughter lives in Pleasant Valley, and she's got a big
We've got some trees where on our front